Welcome back. I am the Watch King. On this video, we are going through the complete history of one of my favorite watches, the Rolex Oysterquartz. Now, this model is my absolute, probably my favorite goofball thing that Rolex has ever done, right? They don't do stuff like this. So we're going to go through the whole history. We're going to talk about designs, everything, all the way dating to their very first quartz watch, all the way back in 1970. So in the late 60s, throughout the 60s, there was a quartz crisis, and Seiko beat them in 1969, but then in 1970, it rolled out the Beta 21. Now this was the first movement that Rolex, Patek also used this movement, and a bunch of other big brands. So they all collaborated to make this Beta 21. That was the caliber. Now what Rolex used it in was the famous reference 5100. AKA the nickname the Texan. The 5100 I've talked about here on this channel. It only came in yellow, white gold. There are reports that there are less of white gold than yellow gold. There are 1,000 pieces total, right? And this watch only had a date. There was no day date. It was just the date. And it was 39 millimeters with factory sapphire crystal. So the crystal on top was sapphire from Rolex. All right, and 1,000 pieces made. So that was made in 1970. They completely sold out. Rolex knew it was a hit at the time. Rolex was promoting it and stuff like that. So the next time they created a case like it, right? I mean, it's different. The original Oysterquartz case, it was different. It wasn't even quartz, the original design. It's the one I have on my wrist here. I have a 1630. They also made a 1530, which was all stainless steel. The 1630 is AKA the Rare Bird, and that was made with bimetal. It was two-toned yellow and stainless steel. The calibers were all 1575s. Now this is the caliber in Submariners. This is the caliber and anything with a date from this era. It was all the same 1575. This ran from 1974 through 78. So that's 4 years. Most people believe it actually ended in 77 for these type of Oyster, well, they're date just in the Oyster case, but actually not. It ended in 78. This model dates to 78, and there are other examples out there that date to 78. There's no exact numbers. Rolex told the public that their 15100s were only 1,000 pieces, but they say that there's an estimate between 1,000 and 2,000 pieces each, right? A lot of people say that there's 1,500 each out there, but nobody knows the exact numbers, so we don't know. It could be less, it could be more, but they are extremely, extremely rare. Definitely go check out if you're in the mood and it hasn't sold yet. If you're watching this video and this watch hasn't sold, just go check out the listing because it's just an amazing watch. But okay, continuing on here, we get introduced to the 5035, which is the date just of the movement, and then the introduction of the first time and ever a day date model, right? And this is the first proprietary in-house quartz movement with the both 5035, the date just model, and the 5055. Now the 5055 is for their day date models. There are some very all gold, some very, very expensive pieces that Rolex made, the most expensive pieces of its time, and we're going to get there. So in 1977, both of these movements were released, right? They had Oysterquartz on the dial, where typically you would see like this. For instance, this model is chronometer certified. So it says chronometer certified, you know, the two lines of text at the bottom of the watch. Now these just said Oysterquartz, right? Rolex wasn't happy with that. So in 1978, it's the only time ever that Rolex changed the movement. They added a tuning fork and they got it cost certified. So they got it certified by chronometer status, and then they changed that in both of the models in 1978. So it ran from a 1 year production run with just Oysterquartz on the dial. So when I saw those, I always thought they were fake, but actually they are only 77. That's a good way to tell if your watch has a replacement dial. Oftentimes, as water can get in and damage, some people might swap a dial. If the case doesn't date to 1977, it is a replaced dial. That's just something interesting, and hopefully if you're ever shopping for that, that might come in handy. So we're going to go, all these watches references I'm going to cover are all in the 5035. That just means they have the date, quickset, and all of these are sapphire crystal. They've never made this case without a sapphire crystal. That's very important because they didn't do that for their actual mechanical watches till way later. So it's just something that's really cool, and I like a lot. And I think a lot of people like about this range. So they have the 17,000 reference, which is all stainless steel. The bezel stainless steel and the bracelets are stainless steel. I believe it comes on what we call the Jubilee version of it, but it's all steel, and it also comes in the Oyster version. It's slightly different. They're both different because they have to match with this integrated bracelet. So, and then we go to the bimetal version, which is the 17013. Now, this is one of the most common references. You'll see this all the time. It's still rare in terms of Rolex, but it is the most common. And then my personal, I do like the 17,000 because it's more sporty, but I really do like the 17014. So the difference between that is just the 17014 has a white gold bezel. That's it, right? They're all very similar, just 13's the bimetal, 14's the white gold bezel, right? So that covers all the Oysterquartz date just references, right? So you get all the combos there. Now we go to the gold models. There were more production, right? Well, not more production. There were more references in the gold model because they could do stuff like that. You'll see here. So the first and most common, you'll see this all over the internet. It's actually pretty. It's still a steal out there. Just depends on condition. Is the 19018. Now this is the 19018 is just the yellow gold, all yellow gold, 18 karat, of course, sapphire crystal, and then just the date, both double quickset. They've always been quickset. They were very advanced, all the way back in 1977, right? They had double quickset in both of their movements. So continuing on, there's a lot rarer version, 19019. Is just the white gold version of that, right? So I can't go into all the dials, but there's tons of different dials with both the 18 and the 19. It could be diamond dial, it doesn't matter. But basically the watch there's no bezel or anything like that. That would change to a different reference. The cool one I actually have reviewed on this channel, and this is a beautiful piece. It's the 19028 reference. And that is the pyramid. The brushing slightly different on the outside, and it's all pyramid bezel, pyramid bracelet. I've done a pyramid one before. Mine was actually rarer with diamonds. It's all the way back in the channel. You'll have to go back and find it, but that is a very cool one. So that covers the main references. Not all the references. We're going to have a bonus here. There were something called the Crown Collection, and we'll get into that in a second. But with all these references, they ran from 77 basically all the way through 2001. Now, you will see some watches with papers 2002, 2003 because ADs didn't sell through them till about 2003, right? So maybe an AD meaning authorized dealer, they could have kept the watch behind and stamped the papers later, or wrote the papers, I should say. The serial numbers all should match up. But some of the serial numbers, I believe, all went all the way through 2002, but I believe 2001 is commonly to completely stop production. Now, there was rumors, I don't know this whole story, but in 2004, after the whole thing, they were talking about a perpetual calendar that would be in quartz. Now, that makes sense for Rolex to make a perpetual calendar in quartz. Maybe not in this case, right? Maybe in like a Cellini case or something like that. It's possible. There was rumors, but it quickly went away. It wasn't such a big success. Remember, it ran from 77 all the way through 2003, basically 2001. There was only 25,000 units reportedly sold. Production was that. That is a very small production. If we were to look at just two-tone, let's say if we just looked at 16013, right, reference, they probably made more of that, the bimetal reference quickset, than they did all these collections together. So extremely rare when we're talking from a Rolex perspective, right? It's boggling to me, but people don't like the tick, right? Now, the bonus here, 1987. I was researching, I found somebody who had 19198. This is a Royal Collection full diamond dial, the bezel, it's all rubies. Very, very rare piece. They didn't make many of them, maybe a dozen in the world, give or take. And it retailed in 1987. Remember, that's not like today, right? Money was different. For $69,350 US. So let's take back a minute. This was, at the time, I believe the most expensive Rolex. I don't think that anything else. It's $70,000 basically for a Rolex in 1987. That is insane. Remember, in 87, it's like, in 87, a Daytona might have been $4,000, not even, less, right? The Zenith came out in 88, so way less. I'm thinking of the Zenith. This is crazy. This is back when Daytonas were 36, 37 mil. And they're charging, wow. Remember that. That's crazy, right? That is insane that this is. And if I found a picture, I'll put it up there. So that covers it. There are some rarer date references. I just went over that one, the 19018. There's some sapphire ones, some very, very rare, expensive models. And this is the type of watch, right? Personally, the 1630, the watch I'm wearing, is my favorite ever two-tone date just ever made, that Rolex made. And this particular one is the only one with diamonds, right? I know that because they never made this watch with diamonds. A jeweler, and might I add, a very expert jeweler went in and added diamonds. It could fool a lot of people, but no, definitely this is something that I think it actually is something that's cool. It's an original dial that added diamonds. I get it, it's not the purest, but definitely go on, take a look. It makes it look a bit more interesting. And unfortunately, the original bracelet was probably stretched out too much or over time. So I don't know if it happened with the factory service or the story with it, but now it's on the later bracelet, 17013, but they match perfectly. So this is my favorite, the automatic version, the mechanical version. But let me know, you can have any of these rare day-date, or excuse me, not just the day-date, all the Oyster Quartz in general. What would you wear? Are you a collector of Oyster Quartz? If you are, you're definitely part of a very small club, right? Some people I know that have multiple Oyster Quartz in their collection. So technically, not even 25,000 people in the world could have these watches, right? If the production is right. So you're part of a very exclusive club, and I like that, right? And it's not a huge barrier to entry, right? Now, mine's a bit more money because it's automatic, but there are Oyster Quartzes out there, like just the oyster, like 3,000, 4,000 you can get. It's just amazing watch for the quality. Remember, sapphires didn't come till like the late 80s, early 90s, right? Even 90s, I think, for the regular date just. And you're getting it, this is 78, and you're getting it all the way back in 1970. Now the Texan, of course, is crazy money, but let me know. I really like discussing this. Let me know if I was informative and you like more sort of historical videos where we go down all the references. I want to thank you all for watching. If you're looking for this or any cool watches, please definitely check the link below. Helps out a lot if you're in the market for an amazing vintage watch. I want to thank you all for watching, and I will catch you in the next one. Have a great day.